Hi everyone, Dwarven here, the internet's busiest skyblock nerd, and it's time for a review of skyblock's own mining skill. So last time I talked about how farming was the best skill in a hypixel skyblock, and obviously this was met with, some differing opinions to say the least. So I decided to step back into the field, pun definitely intended, to explore the other skills of hypixel skyblock and see how they stack up. And of course the one that everybody's probably going to be pointing to the most is mining. Well, what exactly is mining? Well, mining is the action or practice of inflicting severe pain or suffering. This is the definition for torture. Okay, maybe I'm getting off on the wrong foot when it comes to mining, so maybe I should dial it back a little bit, go back to the roots and discover what mining really is all about at its fundamental basis. So here we are at the gold mine, mining at its fundamental level, where everybody comes and learns the fundamentals of mining, I guess. As we can see here, it's an endearing young man beginning upon the path of mining. Or maybe he's just here AFKing for the Hoppity event, even though the event isn't happening right now. But that's besides the point. There's lots to see and do over here. We have two very important merchants over here selling such valuable items such as the fancy sword. Does plus 150% damage to mobs on the mining islands. Even though there's no mobs on this island. And when you do have to fight mobs, there's way better alternatives in comparison to the fancy sword, like the undead sword or probably anything else, if I'm going to be totally honest. Or it's just straight up not the weapon you're supposed to use to kill the mobs. But I'm getting a little too ahead of myself. Back on topic here, does anyone remember Rusty? You know, the faithful guy that would always hook you up with telekinesis for like 100 coins? It was just absolutely amazing. But then the admins came in and ruined this whole guy's career, quite literally, just like the Colosseum guy, and now he's completely washed. I mean, he kind of serves a bit of a purpose, where you can buy back soulbound items that you're only supposed to get like once per solo co-op thing or whatever, but like who even cares? Nobody even uses this guy anymore. He's just here and nobody talks to him. I'm sorry, Rusty, they did you completely dirty. We have a lazy miner that is so lazy he can't even be bothered to get his own pickaxe, and even when you get it for him, he's like, I don't want it, man. I'm just that lazy of a guy that I can't even be bothered to take the pickaxe, even though you did all the hard work. Or maybe we're the lazy ones because we couldn't even be bothered to pick up the pickaxe. Okay, maybe I'm being a little bit too cynical here, but I mean, look at all these ores, man. I mean, surely this has got to be a reason to come visit the gold mines anyways. I mean, you got to get the ores so you can get the mining levels so you can progress further in mining, right? Well, as if it couldn't be any more washed, all the materials that you can get at the gold mines are found right here in the deep caverns. So there is, once again, absolutely zero purpose for the gold mine to, frankly, even exist. And nobody even cares about mining levels anymore because you can get like the first 25 just by sitting here for like 5 seconds and mining the sand. But as hinted to previously, we make our way over here to the deep caverns. At one point in time, this was the end game of skyblock because this was the only place with mobs worth caring about and actually had some level of difficulty to them. Once again, a place that's been pretty washed in recent years. Like, remember the lapis miner, some guy that used to stand back here and he would hook you up with a freak impactor? No, I'm not talking about this guy. I have no idea who this guy is. This guy's like some kind of imposter. I have zero idea who this guy is. I'm talking about the old original lapis miner. He used to be like a skeleton looking guy, and he stood here once, and now he's completely gone. We don't know what happened to him. There's no explanation. He's not like the Colosseum guy where he's washed up in the pub. He's just straight up gone. They thought we would forget. Who are you and what have you done with the original lapis miner? But for the most part, the deep caverns isn't all that bad. There's still a grand sense of adventure when you're making your way down here for the first time, and it is pretty exciting as it gets tougher. And ultimately, it does have a fairly satisfying reward as you can mine diamond blocks and fight enchanted zombies down here, especially since they got rid of that glitch allowing you to see everything doing this. However, we moved towards where mining really started to evolve, and it all started with this guy. Not this guy, this guy, the NPC. Brings us here to the Dwarven mines, an area with giant landscape and brand new, never before seen ores. I mean, quite literally, because that is not an ore, that is light blue wool. Who are they fooling? This was the land of the dwarves of all kinds, and Solid Snake apparently. But when this place came out, this place had everything. New ores, its own government, brand new items and tools, and of course, an awesome skill tree to call its own. And whatever this thing is. But overall, this update was pretty cool, and in some ways allowed the foundations on how to properly do a skill in hypixel skyblock. But it did kind of lack one thing, and that was a purpose. Sure, you could just sit here and mine infinitely, but when the end game goal was just to get Sorrow and then the DRX 555, in addition to the fact that that drill was stupidly expensive and there was pretty much no point in having it because the pickaxes at the time were relatively at the exact same efficiency at a fraction of the price, it just left a lot to be desired. So like all successful things, a sequel was bound to happen. Riding along this funny little minecart here will take us to the world of the Crystal Hollows. And just like like before, a brand new giant world was open to everybody. You see this statue over here? They're kind of giving this one the side eye over here. I mean, they're really like locked in, like really homing in. I don't know, maybe it's just like the unibrow or something, but there's definitely some intent behind those eyes. And just like before, it came with all new minerals, even more things to do in the heart of the mountain tree, and of course the ability to take part in the crystal nucleus ritual, and it can net you some pretty good stuff. Only if you have nutty RNG, that is. It was once again overall a really good update. However, remember what I said earlier about you could just sit here and mine forever? Well, some people this time around took it to heart. Like, really to heart. Well, you see, these funny little pieces of glass were actually worth quite a bit of money, which got people thinking, I need to start mining the glass. And then everybody started mining gemstones. People went crazy for it. People mapped the coordinates for these gemstones and made routes out of these coordinates. I mean, people were so obsessed with it that there's a Discord solely committed to it. But even though there's been a lot of nerfs along the way, it is still a very consistent money-making method, especially regarding the mining fiesta. Yep, some individuals learned that people yearned for the mines too much that they decided to use it to advance their own personal politics. But this has pretty much been the state of mining. Mine the glass, ether warp to another piece of glass, mine it again, rinse and repeat. But objectively, it cannot be denied that it is a very good, consistent money-making method. It doesn't rely on RNG. All you need is something to entertain yourself, the stoicism of a rock, and a whole lot of free time. But this wasn't enough for some people, particularly the admins. They said, oh, we're doing it again. And in came the Crystal Hollow. And in came the Glacial mines, complete once again with new materials and gemstones, even more items and things to do, and of course adding even more to the heart of Mountain Tree, closing it off at an even 10. However, this wasn't all, as you could discover little mine shaft which allowed you to discover even more things to explore and loot corpses, because come on man, they're already dead, they're not going to be using those items. But the general mantra was overall the same, just meaningless grinding over and over again, get big money or big powder or big whatever, and pretty much just doing that till the end of time. And I guess it can be fun, you know, running around doing little daily quests and whatnot, but overall, like, is that it? Is that really all there is to the game? And life by extension? Which that is my takeaway from it. You spend all this time grinding to get the big numbers, the big stats, the big gear, all that type of stuff, to just do more grinding, and that's pretty much it. It can give you a pretty good dopamine rush, especially those first couple times where you start banking in your first hundreds of millions of coins. But after you do it over and over and over again, all to afford certain items that are ridiculously expensive, like artifact control, it just really loses all of its appeal. But overall, I do think it is a really good skill. I mean, I think objectively you can say that it is definitely the most fleshed out of all the skills, but this shouldn't inherently mean that it's just like the most fun skill in the entire game. But that's just me. I'm feeling a decent to strong 8 on the skill. Transition. Have you given this skill a try? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here is another video that you should check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Hypixel skyblock. Mining forever.